Have you ever landed in a new country and realized that your money disappears way faster than you thought?
We're Robin and Graham, and in this video we're going to show you how to plan a travel budget that actually fits the country that you're visiting. Whether it's Japan, Greece, or Thailand, we'll walk you through tips that'll make budgeting easier and stress-free.
So we know all too well that planning a vacation or a trip can be extremely stressful. The best place to start is to determine what kind of traveler you are, whether that's luxury, mid, or budget.
Those are kind of the three tiers that we found all of these travel resources like to fit people into. Now we know that everyone is different and it's definitely a gray area for where you are on this scale. We like to consider ourselves comfort budget backpackers. So I would say we are on the lower end, but we're not the most budget of travelers because we'll try and look for cheap options here or there, and we're constantly looking for ways to save money. But maybe we get the next step up if it adds a little bit of comfort, say to our travel day or to our accommodation or to our activities and things like that.
Yeah, we typically fall somewhere in between mid and budget.
But when we are planning for a trip, we always go on the higher end. So when we are doing our research, we look at that midline because it's better to overestimate than underestimate how much money you are going to be spending on a trip. When we're starting to plan for a new trip, budget is definitely something that we talk about a lot. And there's kind of 7 key areas that we like to focus on and do research on so that we get a general idea of, what the daily budget in a certain country is going to look like and what the overall cost of our trip is going to be. And the research that we're doing is really simply putting it into Google and saying, okay, how much is the average daily cost of, say, food or accommodation in this certain country that we're going to?
But it is always good to have a couple of different sources because everybody travels a little bit differently.
And what they consider mid for one person might be luxury to another person or very on the lower end. So that's why we say look at a couple different options or find someone on YouTube or who writes blogs that you relate with, their travel style, and that's kind of how we go off it too.
Okay, so let's jump in. Number 1 of 7 that we're going to go through. First one is accommodation. Now, there's a lot of different styles of accommodations. As many of you already know, there's hotels, hostels, and Airbnbs are probably the 3 most common. Hotels, you're going to typically get a little bit more luxury. A lot of things are going to be taken care of you. You don't have to do any cleaning, and you have your own personal space. Hostels you can definitely get for a budget. You can get into a shared room with a lot of other individuals, which helps keeps the cost down. There's typically a shared kitchen, so you can make your own meals.
Definitely the cheapest route if you are a solo traveler.
Yes.
Sometimes we did find with our trips in Asia that it was actually cheaper for us to get like a hotel or a guest house is what they call it, rather than getting 2 individual beds in a hostel. So it really depends where you are in the world as well.
Yeah. And the third one, Airbnbs, are really great because you typically get some sort of kitchenette, so you can make your own meals, so you can save some money there. And you also feel like you have your own personal space. So these are really nice if you're staying a little bit longer term.
The second option that we like to consider is where you're going to eat and what you're going to drink, because that also has a wide range that will affect your budget. So if you are like us and you gravitate a little bit more towards street food or trying to find the spots where the locals eat, that's going to be cheaper than going to the touristy restaurants or even the luxury restaurants, because there are really unique and very cool dining experiences in most countries. And if that's something that's important to you and you want to spend some more money on that, then just fit it into your budget. But if you're like us and you just want to eat good food for as cheap as possible, then look where the locals eat. That's where you're going to find the best deals. Another thing that you're going to want to look out for is what are you going to pair your meal with? Are you buying pop? Are you buying alcoholic drinks? Are you just sticking with water? Are you not drinking anything at the restaurant and just picking something up at 7-Eleven on the way back to your hostel? All of that affects that daily budget as well. So it's just something for you to keep in mind. All of this is just trying to figure out what kind of traveler you are and how that fits into the budget that you want to make for these countries.
The third thing we want to talk about is transportation. Now, this is not including the flights that you're going to take from your home base to your destination. This is strictly what you're going to be experiencing on your trip. So that's city to city or country to country. Most people underestimate the cost of how much transportation is. And if you're gone for a longer period of time or you're going to multiple countries on a single trip, then you're going to experience a lot of travel days, which is when your costs are going to start to add up for transportation. So between cities, finding cheaper transportation can be very difficult.
Sometimes.
Robin and I typically like to take the bus or the train or even a ferry from city to city if that's possible. We try to stay away from flying as much as possible because it is like exorbitantly more expensive than taking a bus or a train. And then when we're getting around within a city, that's less of a concern and costs aren't going to add up quite as much because they're typically quicker rides. If you like to take Ubers or taxis, definitely a safe way to go. Just make sure the taxi has a meter in it and they're not just making up a price for you. But you can also use the metro system if that city has one, or the Hyoto Express and just walk from destination to destination. But when it comes back to budgeting, typically your cheapest options are walking, obviously, or taking the city transportation, whether that's a bus or a train.
The fourth thing that we want to talk about is attractions and activities. And this is probably one of the biggest things that's going to make a difference in your trip. And it all kind of plays into what traveler you are and what style of trip this is. Like if you are flying to a destination to stay in one place and stay on the beach the whole time and not pay for any extra activities, relatively your daily budget is going to be quite low.
Yeah.
If you're doing a week-long trip and you want to pack it full and have a tour every single day, well, your week-long trip is probably going to cost quite a bit of money. So this is something that Graham and I like to kind of plan out. Essentially, we'll make a list of all of the things that we want to do in a certain country. Now, we're probably not going to do all of them, but we kind of think of it as if we had all the money in the world, what is absolutely everything we would want to do in this country? And then we'll cross some things off after that.
Typically those lists get pretty long.
So to give an example, if you were, say, wanting to take a trip to Spain, well, someone who wants to fly there and kind of walk around each city that they go to, not really pay to go into everything, they just want to see the outsides of buildings, maybe walk in some parks and just be in that area, are going to have a lower daily budget than someone who is going to pay to get into all the museums, all the cathedrals, pay to have a tour that takes them around and teaches them the history. So just figure out what's important to you and kind of style your trip off of that. Another example I want to bring up is from our most recent trip to Peru, because sometimes just knowing that you want to do a certain activity isn't quite going to cut it, because there's a couple different ways you can do the same activity and sometimes they fluctuate greatly on price. Like for example, in Peru, we knew we wanted to go to Machu Picchu, but when we started to research on it, we realized that there was quite a few different options that would get us to that destination, all with different experiences and all with very different prices. For example, the Inca Trail that we went to, I think it was priced around $1,000 Canadian. And in comparison, something that more budget-friendly backpackers were doing was the Salkantay Trek, which I think was around $300 Canadian. Still ended up at the same destinations, of course, but different experiences and different budgets. So make sure that whenever you come across that scenario, you just got to do a little bit more research.
Number 5 that we want to talk about today is travel insurance and immunizations. Now, travel insurance is not something that people typically take into account when they are initially planning their trip, but it can certainly add on a lot of fees and costs, but it can also save you from a lot of fees and costs if something were to happen. Immunizations, not all of them are mandatory, so that is completely up to you guys what you want to do with that.
Some are more expensive than others.
And some are more expensive than others, but definitely meet with a travel nurse just to understand what you're kind of walking into. You can think of travel insurance and immunizations as just kind of a safety net to protect yourself from anything happening. And honestly, it gives you a great peace of mind to be able to ride the scooters and hike in the jungle and do all of the fun things that you want to do.
The next thing that we want to talk about is not really something that we necessarily budget for, but we wanted to include it just in case you are this type of person, and that is souvenirs. Souvenirs isn't something that I would put into a daily budget per se, But, if you know that you're going to go to a country and you're going to buy things like clothes and other kinds of souvenirs, like you specifically are leaving space in your suitcase to bring items back, then make sure that price is also in that budget. Usually we have it as like a float on the side and not part of the daily budget itself.
Yeah. Okay, number 7 on our list here is having an emergency fund. Now, people say it should be roughly 10 to 15% of what your travel budget is. I don't think that's something you need to go calculate. The most important thing that you can do is making sure that you have enough money to get yourself home in the case that something does happen.
And that's mainly if you are booking a one-way flight somewhere,
Yes.
because if you're booking a round trip, your flights are usually already paid for. So then you want to have an emergency fund to cover any unexpected, travel delays or medical costs that come up and things like that. Just be safe with your money. Have a blanket sum that's tucked away, that's not part of your daily budgets, but you can dip into if you need so that you are able to get safely home.
It's kind of like your travel insurance and immunizations. It's just something to give you a peace of mind.
So with all of those 7 steps wrapped up, hopefully you're getting a good idea of what you need to look out for when you're doing your research for your trip. We kind of have our go-tos of places that we like to check first before checking others. And this relates back to what I said at the beginning of the video. Find, someone on YouTube or someone who writes blogs that you have a similar traveling style with, and their budget that they're breaking down is going to probably mostly reflect what yours is going to be as well. So for us on YouTube, we love the YouTuber Backpacking Bananas. She often does budget breakdowns of the trips that she's gone on. Now, she hasn't been to every single country in the world, but the ones that she has done are really useful. The go-to blog that we like to read is Nomadic Matt. He has a wide range of countries that he has done this for, and he splits it up into that budget, mid, and luxury. So it's really well versed, and he is updating it every so often too to reflect if anything has changed in the country. So we'll link all of their websites in the description box below, so definitely check them out if you want.
One thing I will add about Nomadic Matt is that he also includes a great list of things to do and potential itineraries that you can look at while you're in those countries. So you're getting way more than just the budget.
It's like a one-stop shop for your planning. But if you want to completely go solo with planning for your trip, then you could use things like ChatGPT, and I'm sure they'll spit out something for you. Can't guarantee how accurate it's going to be, but that's a good place to start too.
Okay, to finish this video up, we're going to leave you with 4 different tips that are going to help you save money on your next trip. Number 1, use a local SIM card to reduce and even eliminate all of the roaming fees that you would experience from your home provider. Number 2, withdraw cash in larger amounts to avoid more ATM fees.
Number 3, see if you can travel in the shoulder season, because that can sometimes save you 30 to 40% of the original price just by avoiding when all of the tourists are flocking there anyways. And the 4th and final tip we're going to leave you with is a little bit of a gamble, but sometimes booking last minute can actually save you money on activities and accommodations, because companies are just looking to fill those spots that they'd be losing money for anyways. But I say this is a gamble because sometimes it's going to be more expensive, and if you've left it last minute, well, that's the only option that you have. So do with that what you will.
Budgeting is really all about being smart with your money and tracking your expenses. Completing a daily budget helps you understand where your money is going, and if one day is cheaper, maybe you can splurge a little bit on the next day.
We hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it helps you plan out your next trip, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!
Okay, to get into the budgeting process, we are going to go through 7.
Way faster than you thought. We're Robin and Graham. It's our names! Final tips that we're going to
Final tips of the night.
Yeah.